The dark side of Cuba. In this video, we uncover the lesser-known aspects of this Caribbean nation. From political repression and human rights issues to economic hardships and the reality behind the tourist facade, we explore the complexities and challenges faced by the Cuban people. Cuba, located in the northern Caribbean, Cuba is an island nation bordered by the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Caribbean Sea. Its neighbors include the United States to the north, the Bahamas to the northeast, and Jamaica to the south. With a population of over 11 million people, Cuba covers an area of approximately 42,426 square miles, or 109,884 square kilometers. Cuba has four currencies which confuse tourists, and the use of ration cards to purchase food persists. Let's explore the dark sides of Cuba together. But before we start, make sure you must like, subscribe, and share the video. Number 12. Cash only. In Cuba, cash is king since U.S. credit and debit cards are not accepted anywhere, necessitating all payments in cash. Leave your U.S. dollars at home, because the government imposes an additional 10% fee for using this currency. Foreign tourists can access ATMs, but they will face transaction fees and high conversion rates. The best way to ensure you have enough cash is to exchange currency at the airport upon arrival, where the rates are most favorable despite the long wait. Make sure to plan ahead, as running out of cash can significantly disrupt your trip. Additionally, it's wise to carry small bills, as many places may not have change for larger denominations. Number 11. Payment confusion. The most common question you will encounter in Cuba is, how can I pay you? This extends beyond just paying with cash or cards, as people are puzzled by the existence of four different currencies. In 2021, the Cuban government unified two national currencies, the Cuban peso and the convertible peso pegged to the dollar and exchangeable for other foreign currencies, aiming to make the island's economy, long restricted under tight state control, more attractive to foreign investors. However, instead of simplifying the system, four currencies were introduced, further weakening the economy by distorting prices in relation to each other. Depending on the restaurant, store, or service, people can pay with Cuban pesos, dollars, euros, or MLC, a virtual currency introduced by the government in 2019, which is used by loading dollars onto a card. This card can only be used to purchase goods at state-run stores and cannot be exchanged back into dollars in cash form. Number 10. Cuban cigars are extremely expensive. Cigars are a luxury item representing freedom and power, especially favored by the upper class. One of the places with the best quality cigars in the world is Cuba, where cigars are a type of dried and rolled tobacco, tightly wrapped into larger forms compared to cigarettes. Cuba grows a considerable amount of tobacco, with Habano cigars being the highest quality in the world, available in over 150 countries and becoming a symbol of the nation. For over 200 years, Cuba's cigar-making culture has remained unchanged. Each leaf is meticulously checked for variety, shape, and quality before being handed over to highly skilled cigar rollers, who are highly respected in Cuban society. Cuban cigars originated in the 1960s, associated with Fidel Castro's bodyguard, Bienvenido Chico Perez. After trying this type of cigar, he inquired about the maker, Eduardo Ribera, and the materials and techniques used. Number 9. Cubans are highly spiritual. Cubans also believe in saints, and one of the most revered figures is Street Lazarus. Legend has it that while still in the earthly realm, Street Lazarus was afflicted with sores, causing many to shun him. Stray dogs would come and lick his wounds, miraculously healing them. Consequently, the image of Street Lazarus is often that of a man wearing tattered yellow clothes and a wide-brimmed hat, accompanied by a pack of dogs. Cubans often place his statue in a corner of their homes and leave loose change near it daily. On December 17, Street Lazarus Day, they collect all the money to buy wine, candles, sweets, and cigarettes for offerings. Those with disabilities often place a picture of Street Lazarus in front of their seats. Additionally, Cubans have many other spiritual beliefs. For elderly couples, if one passes away, Cubans take a string used to measure the height of the deceased partner, cut it, and place that segment into the casket of the deceased, believing this will prevent the deceased from dragging the living partner along. Number 8. Cuban emigration to other countries. For decades, Cuba has restricted the emigration of its citizens, and many Cubans living abroad complain about bureaucratic obstacles and hefty fees to maintain ties and renew documents with their homeland. In just 1 year, from 2021 to 2022, over 270,000 Cubans, equivalent to 2.5% of the country's population, were apprehended by U.S. authorities while attempting to illegally cross into the U.S. This massive wave of Cuban migration emerged amid the worst economic crisis in decades, straining U.S. immigration systems. Since no visa is required to enter Nicaragua, many Cubans opt to fly or take boats there, then pay human trafficking networks to smuggle them into the U.S., with total costs reaching up to $7,000 per person, while the average monthly wage in Cuba is only $157. Number 7. Horse-drawn carriages and bicycles are the main modes of transportation. Cuba's traffic laws are extremely strict, making drivers very cautious and rarely exceeding 110 kilometers per hour. They are hesitant to overtake other vehicles, even a horse-drawn carriage, if there's another car approaching in the opposite direction within visible range. At a railway crossing, even if it's abandoned, drivers still stop, look both ways, and then proceed. At all intersections with a yellow triangular sign that says "Pay a Stop," drivers must stop for a few seconds. There are quite a few traffic police stations along the road, and drivers must present their documents everywhere, even if it's just a directive to drive very carefully. On the highways, there are mostly cars and very few motorcycles, while in rural areas, horse-drawn carriages and bicycles are still the main modes of transportation. Moreover, if you're traveling on Cuban roads, it's very common to see people hailing for rides quite densely, and many drivers stopping to offer rides. Number 6. Outdated internet. According to the Cuban government in 2011, only 25% of the population had access to the internet, with most people lacking internet at home and relying on public hotspots. Before 2018, internet access in Cuba was nearly non-existent. By January 2018, nearly 500 public locations offered high-speed Wi-Fi, but home and mobile internet remained luxuries, costing $2 per hour, while the average monthly wage ranged from $17 to $30. Phones capable of internet connection were sold in state-owned stores for $200, making internet access unaffordable for many. As a result, Cubans often downloaded data onto USB drives to share with each other. Despite improvements, mobile data remains very limited, with only 150,000 residents out of a total population of 11 million accessing the internet daily. The internet scarcity is not only due to government policies, but also the long-standing U.S. embargo. Number 5. Economic crisis. Cuba imports up to 70% of its food and fuel to meet domestic demand, with tourism and the sugar industry being the two main sources of income for Havana. However, tourism collapsed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the sugar industry lost its harvest season, producing only 66% of a normal year's output. By 2024, the country had endured its 5th year of economic crisis, struggling with minimal foreign exchange as production sharply declined. Frequent fuel shortages and power outages have exacerbated the situation, with reduced revenue from tourism, further hindered by harsh U.S. sanctions. According to Cuban Minister of Agriculture, Yadel Jesus Perez, pork, rice, and bean production decreased by over 80% in 2023, and egg production fell by 50%. Hospitals are facing severe shortages of basic medical supplies, such as sutures, cotton, and gauze, leading to over 30% fewer surgeries compared to 2019, and nearly 68% of essential medications are either unavailable or in short supply. Number 4. Selling Coca-Cola used to be illegal. Anyone here like drinking Coca-Cola? Let me know in the comments, because it seems like Cuba isn't a big fan of this drink. Along with North Korea, Cuba is one of the 2 countries in the world that banned the sale of Coca-Cola for nearly 60 years, a ban that was only lifted in 2015. The popular soft drink here is called Coca-Cola, sold in both cans and plastic bottles. Occasionally, you can still find stores selling Coca-Cola imported from Mexico at double the price. While finding a bottle of water is as difficult as finding Coca-Cola, rum is sold abundantly in city stores. The preference for local beverages highlights the strong cultural identity and resistance to foreign influences in Cuba. It's fascinating how the availability of certain products can tell us so much about a country's history and values. Number 3. Cuba doesn't have many new cars on the streets. Visitors to Cuba will be amazed to see many retro cars on the streets, an indispensable part of Cuban culture. These cars are not just a means of transportation, but also a unique cultural feature found only in this country. The majority of operating cars in Cuba were manufactured in the United States before the 1950s, with about 30% produced by the Soviet Union, and very few newer models. Since 2009, Cuba began importing sedans from China for use as police cars, taxis, and rentals. Cubans have been allowed to buy new cars from state dealerships since December 2013. There are about 60,000 vintage cars in Cuba, mostly Fords and Chevrolets, along with many Ladas, showcasing the Soviet influence on the country after the revolution. These vintage cars are not only a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of the Cuban people, but also a rolling museum of automotive history. Number 2. Cuba bans the use of Fidel Castro's name for titles, awards. In 2016, the Cuban National Assembly passed a law banning the use of leader Fidel Castro's name for naming public buildings or erecting memorials, in line with his wishes before his death. Reuters reported that while alive, the legendary leader of Cuba often emphasized that he did not want a cult of personality around him. According to the law, the Havana government prohibits the use of Fidel Castro's name for organizations, squares, parks, boulevards, streets, and other public places, as well as any type of medals, honors, or prestigious titles. Furthermore, this law also prohibits the use of Fidel Castro's image to build memorials, statues, or commemorative signs, as well as all other similar memorials in public places. However, the law allows artists to use the image and name of Fidel Castro in their work, such as literature, music, dance, or art. Additionally, the use of images of the Cuban revolutionary leader or images related to his revolutionary career at public events is not limited. Number 1. Cultural taboos in Cuba. Cuba, with its rich cultural heritage, has several social norms and taboos reflecting its history and values. Criticizing the government or Fidel Castro, even posthumously, is highly sensitive, so political discussions should be approached with caution. Cubans tend to have a smaller personal space bubble, and backing away during a conversation may be seen as rude. Touching another person's head, especially an elder's, is considered disrespectful. Proper titles should be used when addressing people, particularly older individuals, as first names are reserved for close friends and family. When taking photos, especially in rural areas, always ask for permission first. Certain hand gestures, like the oak sign, can be offensive. The thumbs-up gesture is more universally understood. Cubans take pride in their appearance, so dressing too casually or sloppily, especially in social or formal settings. Thank you for watching The Dark Side of Cuba. We hope this exploration has provided a deeper understanding of the complexities hidden beneath the surface. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe for more content, and leave your thoughts or questions in the comments below. Your engagement helps us continue to bring you important and eye-opening stories. See you in the next video.